Stuart from Coffee Shop Mistakes, a show that interviews coffee shop owners about the mistakes that they've made so that you don't have to make them. Today we're in Newcastle at Caps Coffee, and we're going to be talking to Joe about some of the mistakes that he's made. But first of all, let's have a quick look around the cafe. So hi, welcome to Coffee Shop Mistakes. I'm Stuart Archer, and today I'm in this lovely establishment with this chap. So could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your coffee shop?
Yeah, sure. My name's Joe MARR. I own Caps Coffee. I opened in 2010 in the summer in a really small basement coffee shop. Built up a bit of a reputation and entered competitions and got a bit of a following behind us.
Yep.
And then 2 years ago in 2016, we moved to this much larger
it's big
place, and we can open longer hours and do more exciting things here. And that's
cool.
the
So
simple
what did you
story.
do before you were in coffee?
I used to work in the banking industry.
All right.
And as we all know, that didn't go very well at that time. And I'd actually already decided I wanted to get out of the industry and open a coffee shop.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about coffee, but I kind of knew I liked serving people and being around customers.
Yeah.
And fortunately, coincidentally, a month after making the decision I was going to save up and open a coffee shop, I was made redundant, and I didn't get a huge amount of money, but I got a little amount, which managed to get
so
things
enough to
going.
kick you off.
Just enough, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So this is Coffee Shop Mistakes. So what we're going to do is ask you about your biggest mistake. So could you tell us a story of your biggest mistake?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stories that involve mistakes.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about one that kind of would at least involve other people, and they could kind of maybe relate to that as well. And I suppose early on, especially in the early days, I decided that specialty coffee was the direction I wanted to go in.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can run coffee shops in lots of guises, but
I
wanted to go down real specialty route, offering the best that I could. And I certainly felt a bit of pressure around that, fitting in almost like it was a club that you had to be a member of, and getting things right, having the right equipment and the right options, the right size cups, things like that.
Yeah.
I think for a long time the mistake I made was I tried to run my business as if it was someone else's, and ran it as if, well, what if this person from London who blogs and has thousands of followers comes in the shop, how would they view what I'm doing?
Yeah.
When really I should have been more focusing on how my customers view the place and offering them what they wanted. I think I lost myself a little bit in all that for probably a good couple of years, and it was
so
once
you
I realised
lost
that
your
changed.
identity a little bit yourself, or
A little bit. I mean, we still had, we were still building, and it wasn't costing in that sense.
Yeah.
But once I decided to run my business for me, things really started moving a lot faster.
Right.
And that is a big error, because I was fortunate enough to kind of recognise that.
Yeah.
And I've definitely seen other people who've made the same mistake and not recognised that.
Yeah.
And they're not running a coffee shop anymore.
Yes.
So it's an important thing to get right, not only for the success of the business, but also your personal health and well-being and enjoyment in running it. I don't think anyone really starts their own business so they can be stressed.
No, I mean that's partially why people start their business, to get rid of that kind of somebody else being in control of their life. And if you just create another stress because of that, then you haven't got your goals sorted.
And if you do follow other people and you follow what other people are doing, what you inadvertently are is 2 or 3 steps behind, actually. Because if what's visible now was conceived a couple of years before that, and it took time to get it to come into play and for you to see it. So then by the time you put it in, the guys who were doing what you thought was cool are now ahead again.
You're already out of date before you've even realised it.
Whereas when you actually start you start recognising what your customers want. You start using yourself as a gauge. That was something that I recognised was a good way of kind of moving. Was you naturally as a person will move with the times as well.
Yeah.
And what I thought was cool and fun 3 or 4 years ago is now different.
Yeah.
Just naturally, that's how we are. So if you use yourself as a gauge, you're in keeping with the times, if you like, and you're not stuck, then your business will change, what you think is acceptable and good will improve over time, and you'll drop some things, you'll pick up other things that are good, and it's just a natural process. Whereas if you're looking at someone else, they might disappear in a different direction that is completely away from what you want to do, and that's really important.
Yeah. So would you kind of change anything about that approach that you had? Would you still do that if you had the chance to not do it again? Would you still do the same thing, or would you?
It's tempting, isn't it? I mean, it's that thing with mistakes. Is you learn from your mistakes, and I've learned a lot from that. And actually, it's shaped Flat Caps to what it is now.
Yeah.
And it shapes my decision-making process to what it is now. And I'm confident in that because I've had the change, and I can see the power of that, making the right decisions. So no, I wouldn't on that specific mistake, because without it, Flat Caps would be something else.
Would it still be here?
Well, if I'd got it right from the start, probably would have. Yeah, but when you're looking at mistakes, I always think, what was the consequence of it?
Yeah.
And if it was the business had a bit of a slower start than it would have if I'd known straight away to do that, then that's like fine. If it meant that the business didn't work and closed, then of course that would be
fine.
That would be a big regret.
Yeah.
No, I don't really regret it. But I'd certainly, if I can, impose that learning onto someone else not to make the same mistake.
Yes.
It's not good to go through it if you don't have to.
No.
But because I have, I'm fine with it. I've rode that wave. It's fair.
Do you enjoy it more now that you've kind of overcome sort of a little adversity? Do you enjoy it a little bit more now?
Yeah, and it's nice to have the war story as well, and how things were hard and all that type of thing. Because if everything was just given to you on a plate, I probably wouldn't be doing this in the first place.
Yeah.
It was the challenge that was attractive to running my own business, and not overcoming anything kind of makes it a bit boring.
Yeah.
So the fact
if you could open a turnkey business that worked, it just wouldn't be.
Yeah, that was never what I wanted. I wanted challenges. I wanted to make mistakes and overcome them. And like I said, there are a lot of mistakes that I've made. Some of them are definite regrets that I would change, but are quite specific to my scenario.
Yeah.
And talking about them would be quite fun, and we could all laugh at the errors, but it wouldn't really give any advice to anyone.
No.
It would just be like, okay, you've done that and you shouldn't have.
Cool. So
that's part of it all.
Yeah, it is. So do you have anything that you would, any help you would, any kind of go-to help things that you would say to someone starting a coffee shop up? Is there anything that kind of sticks in your head that people really should know? Yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to say anything that like shocking here. I think most people have heard this advice, but knowing the business you're going to open is really important.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about coffee shops. I'd never worked in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And I opened one as a business. Looking back at that, it probably would have been advisable to go and at least work in the industry that I wanted to for a long enough period of time for me to find my own place within that and what I'd want to do. That would be a big piece of advice that I would give to someone if they're going to leave a professional career to go and do their own business. Like, know it first. If you're not prepared to do that and make that sacrifice of going and working in a coffee shop for a year or 2 years, you're going to get a bit of a shock when you open your shop. And
it's going to be much more of a sacrifice.
Yeah, I think sometimes people might look at it and think, well, how much you get paid or whatever, and think that would be too much. But when you open a first coffee shop, even if it's successful from day one, as in your customers are through the door, financially it's still a cost at the start. And it will take a couple of years to at least get to a point where you were when you started. So I think it's definitely worth that investment to go and learn it properly.
And you're also learning on other people's time as well.
Yeah.
Those mistakes that you pick stuff up when you're working as well, and it's also on someone else's time, not yours.
Yeah, and it can,
you don't have to do it the hard way.
There is a ripple effect on the staff that you employ, the customers that you get. If you set off in the wrong direction, you need to change. That's a lot harder than if you kind of got your own vision at the start and you know what you want to do. It's going to be a lot easier to open a coffee shop and know what you want to do with it if you've been in that environment for a long time. I think the people who do really well and do actually open a shop that's busy from the start are people who've been in the industry for a long time. And if we had to close this down and I had to move to another city and start all over again, I know that the first 6 months are going to be a lot more successful than the first 6 months I had 8 years ago. Yeah. Because I've worked it, I've done it.
Yeah. You kind of know the recipe a bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you very much, Joe.
No worries, thank you.
Cheers.